Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about history's important questions and how to write history paper of grade 10 2026. So the topic is history board exam preparation, important questions and writing tips. So what we will cover in this presentation: paper pattern of standard 10 SSC, important and frequently asked questions, common mistakes students should avoid, how to write answers according to marks, rules for writing history answers in the board exam. So basically history is a very scoring subject because it's entirely based on facts. And whenever you write a history paper, you need to write the answers in points instead of paragraph. History can be a high scoring subject if students prepare and write answers properly. Reasons why history is scoring: most answers are point based. Questions are usually direct and predictable. Marks are given for correct keywords and concepts. Students do not need very long answers. Proper presentation helps in getting full marks. If students understand concepts and write answers according to marks, they can easily score good marks in history. So as I told you that we need to write all the answers in points and we need to underline all the concepts. So this is the total weightage without option with every chapter. So historiography development in the West has 3 marks. Historiography Indian tradition has 3 marks. Applied history has 3 marks. History of Indian arts 4 marks. Mass media and history 3 marks. Entertainment and history 3 marks. Sport and history 3 marks. Tourism and history 3 marks. Heritage and management 3 marks. So total we have 28 marks in history section, whereas in the political section we have 12 marks. Each chapter carries 3 marks, 3 marks and 2 marks, 2 marks, 2 marks are for political parties, social and political movement, challenges faced by Indian democracy. So common mistakes that students make in history paper. Let's go one by one. Writing long paragraph instead of points. As I told you that we need to write the history paper in points because it makes more sense to write answer in a proper chronology. Not writing answers according to the marks. Forgetting important keywords. So keywords are your main thing in your entire answer. So your entire answer should be based on keywords. Writing irrelevant information. You just need to stay on the facts and you do not need to write additional information. Poor presentation and untidy handwriting. You need to make sure your paper is very tidy and you are not making any spelling mistakes. Not reading the questions properly. To write a proper answer, you need to understand the question properly. And that's the reason we need to read the question paper before starting our answer paper. So these instructions will be given to you in your question paper. How to attempt the paper? Students should follow these steps while writing the SSC exam paper. First, read the question paper carefully. Second, spend the first 5 minutes reading all questions. Understand what each question is asking. Start with the questions you know well. This builds confidence because if you write the questions which you know, so you will gain confidence that I know a lot, and then you will gain confidence even for those questions which you don't know. So you will at least start attempting the questions which you don't know. Avoid writing long paragraph. That's the reason we need to write answers in points. Use simple and clear language. Your language should be simple. You don't need to write any hard words, a word which is containing a meaning which is hard to understand. So that's the reason we need to use simple and clear language. So underline important keywords. This helps the examiner quickly identify important points. Second, leave proper space between answers. As I told you, we need to keep the paper tidy. That's the reason. Write answers according to the marks. If the question is of 2 marks, you will be writing 3 to 4 points. If the question is of 3 marks, you will be writing 5 to 6 points. Attempt concept maps and charts carefully. Make sure while writing the answers, you maintain the neatliness and you use the given space. Check for missing questions, correct spelling mistakes if needed, and while you are attempting the concept maps, use a pencil. So let's talk about the questions which are asked repeatedly in the board examinations. First chapter is historiography development in the West. So your questions are: what is historiography? What is meant by dialects? What is annal school of historiography? Was Leopold von Ranke? Write a short note on annal school. Write a short note on René Descartes. All these kind of questions can be asked. And you need to understand from which country these philosophers, historians belonged from, what was their intention about history. Here I have given one question and how you are supposed to write the answer. First, you need to give the definition of the question. Like whenever you are starting the answer, give a definition. Like historiography is the method and study of writing history. It explains how historians collect sources, analyze evidence and interpret past events. So this is your definition, or we can say introduction. It involves the scientific study of historical sources such as documents, inscription, coins and monuments. As I told, we need to underline important keywords. So your first keyword was historiography. The second thing, documents, inscriptions, coins and monuments. These things also need to be underlined. So historiography, historians critically examine and interpret historical events. It helps us understand how history is written and how interpretation changes over time. Therefore, historiography means the study of the writing of history. Now, as you see, the answer is ending with a conclusion, and we need to add a conclusion after every answer, and we need to end the answer with a conclusion because this is a proper format: definition, then main thing, and then we end the answer with a conclusion. Then comes the second chapter, historiography, Indian tradition. Here you will be asked colonial historiography. This has been asked multiple times. Marxist historiography, subaltern history. Now this both things are related because subaltern history has its root in the Marxist historiography. And then comes write a short note on Orientalist historiography. Write a short note on nationalist historiography. So these are the main things, and along with this you need to memorize the personalities which are given in the chapter 2, chapter 1 and every chapter. Great personalities, historians, which statement was given by which person. Chapter 3, what is applied history, what are archives and what is public history. In question 1 and question 3, you can see applied history and public history. Both have the same meaning. So if you are asked applied history or public history, the answer should remain the same. What is cultural heritage? Short note on applied history. Archives, short note on Indian Museum, Kolkata. Write a short note on National Film Archives of India. Now you need to remember the locations. Locations carry a lot of importance. So remember the location of each and every place. Write a short note on Ur Museum. This question can be asked in MCQ, fill in the blanks, or for 2 marks. Now, mass media and history. So what is mass media? So when such kind of questions are asked, you need to break this 2 words. Mass means people and media means a medium from where information can be circulated. So explain the questions very properly, use very simple language. What is the role of newspaper in society? What is television as a communication medium? Write a short note on the role of newspapers in the Indian struggle for independence. Write a short note on the need for mass media. Write a short note on mass media and professional opportunities. Write a short note on television. So every question has a link with history. Like you can see, professional opportunities, mass media, how newspaper helped in shaping the Indian history. Like say newspapers have spread awareness about how things change when you have lots of information. And many such examples are in the textbook where newspapers have helped to awaken the Indian mass. Now sports and history. Write a short note on toys and festivals. In that you can write about the evolution of toys, what kind of toys, like the details which the toys gives about any place, that can be also mentioned here. Sports and movies, you can write very creatively. This answer can be answered in a very creative way, like even you can answer about the recent movies which are related to the sports and what that movie is revolving around. Write about the history of sports equipment and toys in ancient India. Then explain the relationship between sports and history. As I told, most of the questions are revolving around history. Explain the difference between indoor games and outdoor games. So you need to define, when there is a difference, you need to give the meaning of the word indoor games and then outdoor games, and then you need to give the example. Next is tourism and history. Tradition of traveling, like how the evolution of traveling has been seen in the world. Like people used to travel by their legs, now then they changed their method, and now we can see so many things have been coming up. Short note on Marco Polo, like his background, from which country he belonged, what was his contribution to the history of tourism and travel. Then comes short note on agro-tourism. In this you need to emphasize about the village lifestyle, how the urban people can come to know about the rural life. Then sports tourism, what should be done to increase tourism? Describe any 3 types of tourism. Now in these 3 types of tourism, you need to remember all the types of tourism, because questions related to types of tourism can be asked in MCQ, wrong pair. Then discuss opportunities in tourism, like what job opportunities you can have in tourism. It can be a tour guide, it can be about a journalist, it can be about a editor who goes from one place to another. Now chapter 9 is heritage management. Short note on Stalkosh, Vishwakosh, short note on Bharatiya Samskruti Kosh, Samdanya Kosh, Saraswati Mahal Granthalay. Now here also you need to put the location of this Granthalay. What was the old name? Then why is library management important? Which tasks are important in archives management? What kind of training is required to study written sources? Now let's come to the political science part. First chapter is working of the constitution. What is meant by right-based approach? What is the Right to Information Act? What is meant by policy of reservation of seats? What is the Prevention of Atrocities Act? What are the effects of reducing the voting age from 21 years to 18 years? What is meant by establishment of social justice? Which decisions of the court have protected the dignity of women? What includes the basic structure of the constitution? So as I told, all the questions are straightforward. So be confident and write whatever you have learned for the entire year. Second is electoral process, which shows about how elections happen in our country, why elections are important, how elections help to maintain the democracy. Firstly, reorganizing constituencies. In this, you need to first explain what is the meaning of the word constituency. Second is midterm elections. 3 types of election: by-election, midterm elections and general elections. What is code of conduct during elections? Explain the function of election commission. Write additional information about post of election commissioner. Meaning of code of conduct. Now some questions can be asked in short notes. Some questions can be asked for 2 marks. State the challenges in conducting free and fair elections. I think this kind of questions can be asked again and again because it carries practical knowledge. Now chapter 3, political parties. First you need to define political party. When such question is asked, you need to define, you need to give examples of political parties which exist in our country. Then what is a national party? What is a regional party? Maybe there can be a question which wants the student to answer about the difference between a national and a regional party. What is meant by ideology? Question can be asked like, what is difference between ideology and agenda? What changes have taken place in nature of political parties in India? Like during the independence, after the independence, what kind of nature a political party used to have? But after the independence, post-independence era, how the nature of political parties have changed? Their intentions, their structure, their motto, their ideology. You can write so many things about this. Then comes social and political movements. What is a movement? And why a movement is important? Also, you need to give an example like movements done by Medha Patkar for Narmada Bachao Andolan, consumer movement, tribal movement, what is a workers movement. Now in this question, consumer movement, you can also write why consumer movements are required, because consumers are cheated now and then every time. Explain the role of environmental movements, explain the nature of farmers movement in India, for which reforms were the women's movements in the pre-independence period fighting. So all these questions have been repeatedly asked. But remember, you need to understand the textbook and you don't need to do any ratification of the textbook, because understanding is very beautiful thing and you can write very beautiful answers if you understand the concepts, keywords and topic. And make sure you underline all the important points, all the personality names, years. So if you prepare these important questions carefully and follow the answer writing tips we discussed today, you can definitely score good marks in the SSC exam of History and Political Science. Make sure you revise regularly, practice writing answers and stay confident. All the best for your exams. Thank you.